Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min, along with Mark Eichman and Nichelle Polston. At this time of year, it's awe-inspiring to look at places like Winterthur and what they've done for the holidays.
But it's also inspiring to see people like Laura Hickman, who applies her craft to the simple things she's drawn from her childhood.
Or experience the work of Damon Pla, who can get you thinking about channeling your inner Salvador Dali. This is our First Experience special. It's a part of your weekly Delaware news magazine, and it starts now. Each year around this time, it's become a tradition on First to look at some of the people who make Delaware unique.
Yeah, and we do that through our First Experience stories. It's our spin on the arts and culture of the First State. For the next half hour, Mark, Nichelle, and I will give you a unique tour around Delaware.
We're going to start in Newcastle County. If the holidays are about giving, then the Ronald McDonald House is at the top of the list. And at this time of year, they also receive a lot from the community. That makes it extra special for the families who stay there.
Ronald McDonald House opened its door 25 years ago. So we're here to provide a home away from home for families that need to leave their local community and seek out specialized pediatric medical care for their children. One of our biggest goals for the month of December is to get the house all ready for the holiday. It makes the kids feel like it's a fun place to be because there's so many different things to look for and find, and families enjoy it too. It kind of makes them feel like they're at home. We couldn't do it with our small staff. I only have 13 people on our staff, so we really rely on volunteers and the different volunteer groups to come out to decorate the house to the nines. We're in the living room here at the house, so we have quite a few volunteer groups that come through to help decorate. Probably one of our oldest long-term groups are our wonderful garden clubs. In the living room, there's a tree decorated by the Brandywine Garden Club, and it all has seed packets on it and beautiful ribbons, and so it's very lovely. And we have probably about 12 different trees that our garden clubs have decorated. This year we were very, very lucky. We had Macy's come out, and they also helped to decorate the house. And then another long-term group is our Department 56 Club. They have put together various different villages that can be located in our hallways, in the dining room, and those are some of the more intricate little decorations that kids really are fascinated taking a look at. And what I really like is when the kids come in, it's very magical. They go around and they check out all the decorations. The outside of the house gets a beautiful holiday decor by many different volunteers that come out. And what it represents, we call this time of year our Share Night time of year. And we ask the community to contribute $15, which represents what we ask a family that's going to stay here, a $15 donation. So we ask the community to contribute $15 or more, and then we have volunteers that come out and string oodles and oodles of holiday lights outside. We raised about $100,000 during this campaign in the month of December, and every light that's hung on the outside of the house represents a $15 donation. So it's very comforting as all the families come into the house to see that overwhelming community support. So it is a festive array of displays, and we light our lights on December 15th. We have a big ceremony which the community is invited to be a part of, and we turn on the lights, and the lights stay on from December 15th through the new year. We also have Ronald that comes that evening, and he does a magic show. We serve hot chocolate and hot dogs and holiday cookies. We have a group coming in and we'll sing some Christmas carols. It's a real festive evening, and it's just very heartwarming to see how philanthropic our community is to come out and support the 50 families or so that'll be staying at the Ronald McDonald House. Thank you for letting us tell a little bit about the Ronald McDonald House, and our families are really very grateful for the community support because they have to leave their own home, and to be here and be able to celebrate the holidays is tough for them, but seeing it well decorated, and it gives them a little piece of comfort and hope too, to see our house well supported by the community.
At any given time, there are about 50 families who will stay in a Ronald McDonald House. It is close affiliated with AI DuPont Hospital for Children and Christiana Care Hospital. If you want to know more about the Ronald McDonald House, go to rmde.org.
And Nichelle, Newark artist Celeste Kelley worked in fiber and silk screening until a trip to Spain set her on a different course. She returned home and turned her artistic vision to mosaics. Using bottles, ceramic pieces, and glass of all kinds, First Experience shows you some of Celeste's beautiful works of art for your garden.
I was doing fabric and silk screening and all of that. And then I went to visit a friend in Barcelona and saw Gaudi's work. He is this incredible architect from, I think, about 1870s, and his work was just inspiring. So I came home and decided that I was going to start trying out mosaics. First, I was copying other people and then getting my own voice. Some people do a lot of flat, everything's the same height. And I like to add tile and bottles and different things like that. Sometimes I like to work where things start going out this way, and other times I like, the vertical, because then it pops out the design in the center. So it's really about design and color, and I think I have a really good sense of that. I like to put different colors together. So there might be some navy, there might be cobalt, there might be some tile that has different colors in it, so that there's just more texture and more depth. I love making the gargoyles, my modern day gargoyles. They look at it and it resonates on some level with them. The kids come up and they're face to face with this image, and they just look right into the eyes, and some of the kids are like, oh, that's spooky, and others are like, wow, they're just mesmerized by it. So it's kind of fun to see all the reactions to them. I want them to name them, and so I'll even say, I'm not going to say whether it's male or female or whatever. You decide and you name them. And people do. If I talk to them later, if I see them at another show, they'll tell me what they named the piece. It's fun. I remember I was doing this show at Lewis. I had 3 different big things that people bought. Afterwards, I said I would drive it to them. And I was like, wow, my pieces really get great places to be in. And they get this better lifestyle than I do. I loved it. Doing artwork, it's a delight, it's joy. And I think that's why people love to view art, because it brings out kind of the joy of being human. I'm creating for the sake of creation. It kind of lets me know when it's done, and then I'm done. Just let it get out into the world and enjoy the space.
It can take Celeste several weeks to complete one of her creations. You can get more information when you visit her on the web at celestekelley.com.
Coming up in our grand finale is a magical trip to Winterthur. No one should have to tell you how spectacular it is, but you should experience what's in store for you when you visit.
We have an update on a story we brought you earlier this year on First. Some good news to report about 3 cats we featured in our story on the efforts to reduce Delaware's feral cat population. Here's one of those cats, now named Penny, with her new family. We saw Penny, her sister, and mother being trapped by workers with forgotten cats. We followed along as they were spayed and vaccinated, and we're happy to say all 3 cats have now been adopted.
While we're all together, I need your help with something. Back in July, we asked people to sign up for some WHYY prizes at our Best of Delaware table. Our producer, though, never allowed us to draw for the winners on the show.
But we are going to fix that right now. So we have 2 WHYY tote bags, a Newsworks pint glass, and 3 discs, as well as a coffee mug.
Not just any coffee mug, though. It's a Downton Abbey coffee mug. The DVDs are Delaware, A Billion Mile Journey. There's also a CD of fresh air interviews done with some cast members of Downton Abbey.
Okay, and Mark, draw 2 for Delaware and Billion Mile Journey. And Shirley, if you can take 2 as well for the tote bags and the Downton Abbey mug.
Okay, so I feel like, though, I should give out a phone number that we are all very familiar with. It's toll-free, 1-888-345-9499. That's the number to become a member at WHYY. Now, Nichelle, you go and pick for the Fresh Air DVD, the Newsworks glass, and a tote bag.
And we want to thank everyone who came to our booth at the Best of Delaware in Dover. We'll contact the email addresses of the names we've picked that you've provided, and we'll get the shipping information to send these gifts off to you. Again, thanks everyone. Thanks to the show.
Let's get back to our experience program. It may be cold outside, but it is always a good time for a trip to the beach. Delaware artist Laura Hickman grew up in Bethany. And during the winter months, she and her sisters had the town to themselves. Laura still lives in Bethany, and those childhood memories have inspired her work through the years. Starting with black, Laura brings out the light in her pastel paintings. We stop by her studio for a look.
I was born in Bethany Beach on 5th Street, grew up there my entire life. Bethany was open for business from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and my sister and I and my youngest sister, we had that whole town to ourselves all winter long. And we would play on people's porches, we would pretend we lived in the house. My parents had bought me a chalkboard in my room, and all I did was draw on it. That was my fantasy world, that's where I expressed myself. They always encouraged me, and I always knew that I was going to go and study art. My grandmother, I guess around age 55 or 60, started taking up art classes. I remember seeing the jars with paintbrushes, and I loved looking at her artwork. She finally allowed me to do my first oil painting with her when I was in 3rd grade, which was the view from her house. She was a really big influence on my work. My dad was a builder. I've just always been drawn to architecture, and especially the alleys of Bethany. The alleys are where all the beauty is. As you go up and down the alley, you see the backyards and the picnic tables and the Weber grills and the clotheslines and, just activity. People would say, why would you want to put like a garbage can that's fallen over, a picnic table that's losing its leg? It's the way things are, and it's the way that I see it. It's all about the way the light's playing, the way the birds are singing. When I was little, you would hear the humming of the electric lines, things like that. There's just more to it than just the visuals. And I think a lot of people who see my pieces identify with that. When I tried to draw on white, it was just too hard, It was to be able to draw my light. It was already light, With my etchings, I had always worked from dark to light. I found that if I worked on a black paper with my pastels, I could do kind of the same things with the light that I was interested in. Even though they were landscapes, they were really about light. Each pastel has its own characteristics. I work from hard to soft and from dark to light, because if you put dark over light, it just takes it all away. If you put light over dark, it mixes. It seems to be the way that's easiest for me to work anyway. I had someone send me an image of a garden that I had done. She said she bought it because she just couldn't take her eyes off of it. It meant something to her. And she asked me to identify it, and I told her where it was in Ocean View. And she says, oh my goodness, I remember that when I was growing up. I used to go there and buy that man's flowers. When people tell me stories like that, it just makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel that my piece has a really good home. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to start with a piece of paper and then have it develop into something that's meaningful to you.
Laura has shows up and down the coast. You can see more of her work on display at Gallery 1 in Ocean View, Delaware. You can get more information when you visit Laura on the web at laurahickmanfinearts.com.
For our next experience story, we stay in Sussex County and visit the Dagsboro studio of artist Damon Pla. A surrealist, Damon began his art career doing murals and landscapes, but Damon's real passion is his surreal paintings. Imagination, light, and a dose of Dali all contribute to Damon's amazing art.
My name is Damon Pla. I moved here to Delaware about 14 years ago from Florida. I actually started with a lot of landscapes because if there's anything that's cohesive in all my pieces is this late afternoon light. When you see that, any of us, on the road, wherever it might be, it sort of arrests you. You have to say, look at this lighting. You know, this lighting is sort of glowing the sky. I've got to stop and take a minute to look at it. Before I started painting landscapes, I actually was struck by Salvador Dali in my teen years in high school and loved to draw like that, but my landscapes and murals, I was able to learn my techniques and become comfortable with acrylic paint. So then I finally started to realize I can take what I used to do and start applying it to what I'm doing now with paint. My surreal works are more of my passion. They're more of an idea that it's just a moment. The way I would look at surrealism is it's so jumbled up that I don't cast judgment on it. I actually just take it in because I've got to figure it out in my head, like what's going on here? And I like that. I like that silent conversation. When you're working the paintings and they're just shapes, and you know, you're not getting anything, as soon as the sun is hitting whatever scape it is, I'm very happy, you know, because I think of it as not a sun sets behind me, whatever it might be, but there's this great force behind what I'm seeing. So I hope that I capture that mood. That's what captivated me when I even first saw surrealism. It was a story that you didn't even have to read. You just sort of enjoyed it. And there was the mood of the story. And that's what I'm about. About 20% into the painting, it's for me. I am going, suddenly when the light hits and whatever's happening, I'm there. It doesn't matter who sees it, I'm happy. For me, it's almost as if my senses cross. Like that's what that painting sounds like, or that's what this painting feels like. So once you start to cross all your senses, that's when I know that it's really starting to arrest me. So I try to make it that people will see the same as I did. When I see the painting as I saw another artist's painting when I first discovered, you know, surrealism when I was younger, and I have that same feeling when I see these. I know that whatever the piece is going to do, no matter if I start from the easel and it's a white piece of canvas, by the time I get to the end of it, I want it to stop people, whether it's at an art show, at a gallery, and just make them just completely pause. Like, hold on a second, I've got to figure this out. That moment of awe, you know, that we can take from anything is what I hope that people will take from my work.
To see what Damon is working on right now, or to find out where you can see him or his work, visit Damon on the web at damonpla.com. Our next experience story has some interesting elements to it.
It does. Michael Kraus describes himself as a three-legged stool, with music, philosophy, and art fueling his creative work. First Experience visited Michael's Lewis, Delaware studio to get a look at his work and see how those three parts of his life come together as one.
I grew up in Cleveland, started playing violin when I was 7, and I was destined to become a musician. After I worked with Joe Gingold, the concertmaster of the Cleveland Orchestra, I went to university and discovered philosophy. When I was 28 years old, I had an epiphany. I was visiting the studio of a friend of mine in New York, and she started hauling out these huge shaped canvases. And I had the sense, as I was experiencing this moment, that I was in the space rather than looking at the space. I had to start painting at age 28. At the end of that first year, I had my first one-person show, and I've been ever since juggling these three muses: my music, my art, and my philosophy. After 15 years of experimenting, that I discovered powder pigment. They are the pigments that precede mixing of a medium. It may be oil or it may be acrylic medium, and that allows me to actually work with brushes to work the pigment into the surface. My interest is to get at depicting the relations between levels, so as to actually get a sense of the layering of space upon space upon space, that sense of beyondness that's been a preoccupation of mine for a long time. And then simultaneously I'd been working with these ciphers. These were a kind of automatic writing that arises out of my conductorial gestures. You know, I've been conducting ever since I was a teenager. So I'm very concerned with the motion that is the musical motion behind some of these images. Some people have seen Arabic, other people have seen Hebrew, other people have seen musical scores. I love it when people tell me what they see, because many times they teach me what I've done. And I think that's as it should be. I don't believe that there is one meaning to a given work of art. It takes on its own life, and that's the beauty for me of actually doing art. I can't not do it. I don't think I could recognize myself to be the person I take myself to be if I wouldn't or couldn't continue to do art. When I am doing my ciphers, it's going at a certain pace where I will become with myself. I am fascinated by the layering of that liquid on that two-dimensional surface. It's a kind of meditative moment. That's when I am most satisfied.
More information on Michael and his work can be found online at krausart.com.
Since the 1970s, Winterthur Museum has been opening its beautiful and historic mansion for holiday tours. The event is called Yuletide, and it's a chance to take a peek back in Christmases past, from different traditions to ways of decorating. It's really a beautiful holiday tradition. So for our last First Experience story, we took the tour ourselves and bring it to you as only First Experience can.
The Yuletide tour started in the 1970s. It was so successful, it was sold out, and we had to open up more nights. Finally, the director of the museum said, we've got to make this a public program. Obviously, this is something that has a draw. So that was the start of Yuletide the way it is now. of a snapshot of the people who lived here, but also it's a chance to look at how the holidays were celebrated in the past. On this year's Yuletide tour, we're focusing on the mid-1800s. By that time, people were starting to decorate, and we go into the 20th century. There can be 1,500, 1,600 objects that we're moving to set up one Yuletide tour. When it comes to the installation, we put a lot of people in who are just moving all the objects, who are doing the electrical work, setting the lighting, setting the sound systems, the horticulturists who are dealing with all the live greenery, the floral arrangers doing the floral displays. It's very much like a dance. I've got all these people moving in different directions, carrying pretty precious stuff, and they've got to keep on moving and get it done, but they can't crash. It's wonderful to see it all come together. I want people to share their stories of their holidays. We did this, oh well, we did the other thing, or they just say, wow, this has been a great part of our holiday. Maybe we've learned a little something, that's terrific, I love that, but I really want them to say this was fabulous.
New this year on the tour is a very special refurbished dollhouse that was donated to Winterthur. You can see a short video about it on the pages of newsworks.org/Delaware. The Yuletide tour is on now through January 8th. You can find more information on that or the many other things going on at Winterthur when you visit them on the web at winterthur.org.
So for the next 2 weeks, we will turn over this time slot to a variety of WHYY holiday programs. We'll return January 6th. While we have a moment, though, we do want to thank the generosity of the C.E. Bennett Foundation for their support for our First Experience segments.
Usually you'll see their names in the credits, but we are happy to thank them for their support. We also want to thank you, the viewer. We appreciate your support as well, and we want to thank our wonderful team here at First. So for Mark Eichman and Shirley Min, I'm Nichelle Polston. Have a great week.